All right, let's jump right into this incredibly dramatic vision from the book of Obadiah. We're unpacking a really timeless, striking story today. It's all about hubris, the ultimate sibling betrayal, and this intense concept of cosmic justice. Now, yes, it's an ancient text, but as we break it down, you're going to see how profoundly relevant these themes of pride and consequence are to human nature, even right now. We're going to explore a geopolitical disaster, a family rivalry that went horribly, horribly wrong, and a really profound declaration of how the universe ultimately balances its scales.
Though you soar like the eagle and make your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down. I mean, just think about the sheer pride required to inspire a metaphor like that. We aren't just talking about a nation that felt pretty secure. We are talking about a nation that honestly believed it was completely untouchable. They looked down on the rest of the world, totally convinced they had elevated themselves beyond the reach of consequence, beyond failure, and ultimately beyond the reach of God. To understand how they fell so far, we really need to look at how they got so high in the first place.
Section 1. The setup, the illusion of invincibility. So let's talk about Edom. Edom wasn't just some random political entity. They were the descendants of Esau. And if you know your history, that makes them the literal brothers of the Israelites, who were the descendants of Jacob. Geographically, Edom was situated in this mountainous, heavily fortified region. They were quite literally living high up in the clefts of the rocks. You've got to imagine these impregnable cliffside fortresses. And living up there, it gave them this incredibly dangerous, intoxicating sense of absolute security. Because, well, when you physically look down on everyone else from a giant rock fortress every single day, it really starts to warp your perspective.
And you can see the fatal flaw of that hubris right away. Edom's perception is basically a taunt. Who can bring me down to the ground? It's just pure arrogance. Their pride had completely tricked them into believing they were invincible. But juxtaposed right against that taunt is the stark reality delivered by the Lord. From there, I will bring you down. The very heights that Edom trusted for their safety are exactly where their downfall is going to begin. Because as it turns out, the higher you build your nest, the further you have to fall.
To really grasp the absolute severity of what's about to happen to them, the text poses this highly relatable question. Think about a common robbery in the night. A thief breaks in, grabs whatever valuables they can easily carry, and they take off, right? They don't take literally every single item in the house. Or think about grape pickers out harvesting a vineyard. They always leave at least a few grapes behind on the vine. Normal disasters, normal thefts, they have limits. There's almost always something left over to rebuild from.
But for Edom, nope. The rulebook gets completely thrown out. Esau is going to be completely ransacked. And those hidden treasures? Pillaged. There won't be any leftover grapes here. There will be absolutely nothing left behind by the thieves. The devastation coming for the house of Esau is going to be total. The security they banked their entire existence on is going to be completely stripped away, right down to the secret vaults they thought nobody else knew about.
And the crazy part is how this downfall happens. It's deeply ironic. This isn't just a frontal assault by some massive, stronger army. Their allies, the very people they trusted most, will force them to the border. Their friends will deceive them. The people sitting at their table, eating their bread, are going to set hidden traps for them. Edom was famously known for its really wise men and its fierce warriors from the region of Teman. And yet, those warriors will be terrified, and all that famous wisdom will be destroyed. The exact alliances and intellect Edom relied on to stay safe are going to be the very mechanisms of their slaughter. So naturally, we have to ask, why? Why is this horrific, unprecedented destruction happening to Edom? What did they do to deserve the slate being wiped entirely clean?
Section 2. The crime. The ultimate sibling betrayal.
It all boils down to this core accusation. It's a deep, deeply personal, familial betrayal because of the violence against your brother Jacob. Remember earlier when we talked about how they were the descendants of Esau? They weren't just attacking some neighboring country. They were turning on their own flesh and blood. When Judah, or Jacob, was invaded by foreign armies, Edom didn't just stand on the sidelines. They actively participated in the destruction of their brother. So this punishment isn't just about arrogance. It's about a fundamental, total failure of humanity and kinship.
Listen to how these actions escalate. First, they just stood aloof while strangers invaded Jerusalem, which is bad enough, right? Apathy in the face of your brother's ruin. But then it gets worse. They started actually rejoicing over the destruction. Then they actively swooped in and seized the wealth of the victims. And finally, the absolute most horrific part. They waited at the crossroads to cut down the refugees fleeing the violence, and they handed those desperate survivors right back over to the enemy. The original text uses this rhythmic repetition of the phrase, "in the day of their disaster."
It's there to hammer home the sheer calculated callousness of exploiting someone when they are at their absolute most vulnerable. And it's this horrific betrayal that brings us to the turning point of the entire narrative.
Section 3. The Judgment, Cosmic Justice, and the Day of the Lord.
This declaration right here is the dramatic hinge of the entire vision. As you have done, it will be done to you. Your deeds will return upon your own head. This is the ultimate law of poetic justice. We're talking pure, unadulterated karma on a cosmic scale. And what's really fascinating here is that the standard of judgment isn't some complex, arbitrary legal code. The standard of judgment Edom faces is simply a mirror of their own actions. Exactly how they treated the vulnerable is exactly how they are going to be treated.
The punishment just perfectly mirrors the crime. Edom's crime involved drinking and celebrating on the holy hill while Jerusalem was literally falling apart. They basically threw a frat party on their brother's grave. So what's the consequence? The Lord says they, along with all hostile nations, will drink continually. But they aren't drinking wine at a celebration anymore. They are drinking the cup of divine judgment, and they're going to drink it until they are utterly consumed as if they had never been. Mocking the vulnerable doesn't just get you a penalty flag. In this vision, it literally erases you from existence.
And the way this reversal is described is just incredibly potent. The house of Jacob, the victims, the ones who were invaded and had their refugees cut down on the streets, they will become a fire. Joseph will be a flame. And the house of Esau, those supposedly invincible eagles chilling up in the high rocks, they are reduced to nothing but dry stubble. The tables turn completely. The betrayed victims transform into this unstoppable consuming fire, and the betrayers are reduced to ash, leaving absolutely no survivors behind. But crucially, the vision doesn't just end with destruction and ashes. True justice isn't just about punishing the guilty, right? It's about restoring the broken.
Section 4. The Aftermath, Final Restoration.
Obadiah's vision wraps up by mapping out this massive, complete reversal of fortunes, restoring everything that was stolen. The folks from the Negev, the Israelites who were violently pushed out, they're going to come back and actually occupy the mountains of Esau. Those invincible high rocks we talked about at the very beginning, they belong to the victims now. The exiles from Jerusalem will return to possess and expand their rightful lands all across the foothills, the fields of Ephraim, and the towns of the Negev. Literally everything that was taken is restored, and then some.
And the final resolution just ties the whole narrative together beautifully. Deliverers will go up on Mount Zion to govern the mountains of Esau. All that chaos of betrayal, the horrific violence at the crossroads, those arrogant eagles nesting up in the stars, it all finally comes to an end. True authority and governance return to Mount Zion. The kingdom will no longer belong to whoever can take it by brute force or deception. It's going to be established under an ultimate, fair, and divine order.
So what is the big takeaway for us today? Because this isn't just some ancient history lesson about forgotten nations living in rock clefts. It leaves us with a highly provocative warning. When things are going great for you, when you're soaring like an eagle, feeling totally secure and untouchable, how do you actually treat the people around you who are experiencing their lowest moments of disaster? Do you stand aloof? Do you secretly rejoice in their misfortune? Or do you step up and help? Because as Obadiah makes terrifyingly clear, our deeds always return upon our own heads. What we do to others in their day of disaster is exactly what's going to happen to us. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me. Keep reflecting on that, and I'll catch you in the next one.